I want to open the Portage La Usla meeting for July 20th at 7 p.m. First item is for me to call to order, and I accomplished that much so far. Item number 2 is public comment, and that'll be limited to 15 minutes, 5 minutes per speaker. Do we have anyone sign up?
Nope.
No public comments. Okay. Next is approval of the minutes. Commissioners, have you had time to, I'm sure you must have gone through your packet then. Any,
I've read, they're fine as far as I
okay.
feel.
Do we need to vote on this?
Consensus.
No. Just approval by consent. Any problems, anybody? Okay. The next item is the financial statements. Dina?
Hello, Commissioners. All right, the first report I've given you is the profit and loss budget performance. This report shows the income and expenses for last month, as well as the numbers for the end of the fiscal year ending June 30th. If you look at the percent of budget column on the right side of the page and work your way down to the expenses, you will see that all of the appropriated categories are within budget, which is good. The books for this fiscal year are not yet closed, and we are still expecting an electric bill from Central Lincoln PUD for the month of June. Moving to the balance sheet. Oh, do you have any questions on this report? No? Okay. On the balance sheet, it shows a total of the checking and savings account of $512,646. This is an increase of $121,000 over last year. That was just so we ended up with a lot more cash in the bank this year than we did last year. The rest of the reports are pretty much the standard reports I've given you each month. And if you've had a chance to review them, I'm open for questions if you have any. If not, we can move to the final report, which is the occupancy report, which shows how we ended up for the fiscal year. And it does show that we, in the campground, we ended up at 44% for the year, which is down from last year, but still up from the previous years.
By how much?
Last year we ended up at 47%, and the year before that we were at 40%, and this year is at 44%.
The dollar figure that's different, does that reflect the increase in our campground charges?
Yes.
So that's where that difference came from then?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been talking to the Good Sam Club, which is a national organization that has a lot, millions of members, and many campgrounds and RV parks are Good Sam parks. We are considering becoming a member of that organization, and they are coming tomorrow. The representatives are coming tomorrow to do an inspection of our RV park. So we already advertised with Good Sam, but by becoming a member is an additional $500, give or take. And we would be giving campground guests a 10% discount on their stay. But it gives them the opportunity to come here at a discount, and the parks that I have spoken to say that it's well worth it. They have a lot of people from Good Sam, and a large percent of their
they get a return.
right,
then.
right.
Yeah.
So that's all I have. If there are no other questions, we can move on.
Anybody have any more questions for Dina concerning the financials? Hearing none, we will move on to the next item, which is the election of officers for the port. is that time of the year where we re-elect officers, and I'm wondering if anybody would like to be the president of the Port Commission.
Why are you wondering that? Why are you wondering that?
Because
If not,
if
If
this
not,
is the
then I
time,
would-
if you want to re-elect, you want
I,
to elect someone else, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, I see. That's what you're looking at.
That's what it's all about.
Well, I move that we leave the slate the same unless somebody
I
has
agree.
some other nominations.
Ron and Terry.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's, committee assignments. Oh, first we gotta approve meeting date for 2016-17. See what that's all about.
Still the third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday. I don't see any problem with that. That's where it's
No.
been for years.
Yeah, that's good for me.
Is this the location or just the date?
The date.
They'll all be here unless otherwise posted. Sorry.
Yeah, 'cause next meeting's in Mapleton.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Pardon me?
Where's the next meeting?
Mapleton, at the high school. We had one at Triangle Lake, I think 2 months ago, and trying to get out into the bigger, broader watershed area so that people that live away have a chance to have an input without traveling all the way here.
Anybody have a problem with the meeting dates for next year?
Not the dates.
Okay. Committee assignments. Did you have a sheet on that for me? You must have.
Those are number 7.
I have a question. I see my name on for the Lane Council of Governments. I have not been at any of their meetings. I don't get their information, so I don't know when they are.
I think we talked about that at the beginning of last year, and we looked into it, but it wasn't anything that was, since you were going to the Lane Area
The
Commission on
transportation.
Transportation, that was taking care of the port's needs.
So I'm okay then with, because I just saw that today, didn't realize that I was missing something.
Anybody else have any problems with the assignments?
Well, there hasn't been any assignments yet.
Well-
But leaving them the same way they were, yeah. Right.
I have started going to chamber meetings because the staff has not been going there, and I think it's important that the port be part of the chamber. But the rest of it,
All looks good to me.
yeah.
Yeah, mine are working okay, the Lane Act and Watershed. And I haven't been to any of the Oregon Public Ports Association meetings, but we'll try to do that because I think the next one is the one that's in Coos Bay.
The next the coastal development, economic development meeting is in Coos Bay. And
Is that the one Ron Preisler from the city and I are going to, I think?
I presume so, I think so.
Okay.
That's a big gathering.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Item number 8, a resolution to require mortgage insurance. David,
What? What was?
mortgage.
Mortgage.
Yeah, not
Mortgage.
mortgage. Yeah. Okay. Come to watch the show, I'll give you one.
We appreciate it.
Go ahead, David.
So last year, the port had a oil spill, a boat that's really well cared for and loved on, big yacht out in the boat basin. I had a 30 gallon spill, and the cleanup costs were at least $6,000. I look out on that's just cleanup costs. I look out on the on our fleet, and I see an aging fleet. I see a lot of old boats. I see a lot of boats that aren't cared for. And this boat was a boat that was, I mean, the guy's out there, he's polishing it. It looks good. It's Greg Helmer's boat. And he had mechanical failure, and he shot some gas into the bay. And I look at these other boats, and I think these are issues, liabilities waiting to happen. Boats sinking and slips is it's not a common occurrence, but it's not an uncommon occurrence. Boats running into docks is not an uncommon experience, doing damage to the docks. So thinking about the port's risk and thinking about what's in the best interest of protecting the port's property, I proposed this resolution. And what the resolution does is it requires two different types of insurance. One is indemnity insurance. So if a boater hurts our property or injures somebody on the water, there's coverage to collect against the boat owner. It's also, my proposal also includes coverage for wreck, removal, and salvage. I spoke with Brian Mill at Oregon Marine and asked him how much it would cost to raise a trawler, and he said, maybe about 10 grand. If assuming that they could get to it and they didn't need a crane, and if they need a crane, they got to get one on this water, and that would obviously drive the expense up. If there isn't insurance, or if the boat owner doesn't have a lot of money, then it's coming to us and SDO and our insurance to pick up for it, and eventually they would look to the boat owner as well for reimbursement. And the third kind of coverage that we're requesting is for pollution cleanup, and that's you can imagine that some of these boats put in 1,000 gallons. We fill them up and we put in 1,000 gallons, and a spill like that's very unlikely. But you're talking a big spill and a big risk. Something like that happened during salmon season, or there was other environmental damage, a bad time of year. It could be a very, very bad scene without getting the insurance involved and having the insurance money there to take care of it. So I've proposed this measure. I've spoken to a number of insurance brokers, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of standardization in the industry. So I proposed a limit. I understand that $250 is a minimum limit for a commercial craft, and I'm told that a $1 million policy costs about $300 and is pretty standard on a commercial boat, and that's how I came up with these coverage amounts. I'd asked for same types of coverage on our recreational vessels, but lowering the amount because the coverage amount, because the risk isn't nearly as great. I'd ask for $100,000 in liability coverage and the same amount in pollution control, and that would include salvage value as well, or salvage reimbursement. So that's the proposal. As you know, Washington State passed mandatory boater insurance last year. A lot of the ports are starting to move in that direction. About half the ports now have, about half the coastal ports have mandatory insurance, and it looks like a direction that ports are going. Brookings made mandatory insurance a couple years ago. Bandon did last year, and so it's part of a trend. I think that OPPA will start pushing this as an issue with the legislature as well. So that's the resolution, and I'm open for questions.
Recreational vessels are vessels that are, is this long-term?
Anybody here who will be at the port, moored at the port for 72 hours or longer.
What about sports boats?
You mean the small little boats?
Yeah.
Same coverage for those boats. We'll work it in grad. I'll come back to a transition plan in a moment, so we're not going to affect this season. Recreational boats that will have sports boats,
They're gonna have to pay too.
they'll have to pick up some insurance as well.
And how much is the cost on that?
Well, when I've been insured, when I've had my boats insured, usually $200. It's not an overwhelming expense.
Okay. Commissioners, any other questions?
No, I don't think so. I don't have any other questions.
What?
I don't have any other
No.
questions,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Manager.
Just phase-in period, you're gonna talk about
Yeah,
that?
well, what I was gonna do was, if the commission adopts this, then I was just gonna ask for a resolution to give me the authority to create a phase-in period. And that would be, we don't impose on anybody who's got a current contract with the port now for moored. Once the contract expires, then we'll close it. We won't start enforcing this season. If somebody new is coming in, then we'll require it. So if somebody's here, they already got a reservation for the upcoming season, we're not going to mandate this. Next year we will. So that would be the transition. So people would have a year to work into it.
Have you figured out how you deal with the, how do you determine whether or not they're insured?
Yeah,
How are you gonna do
we
that?
ask people to bring in a declaration page,
Mm-hmm.
and that's common.
What, the
A
declaration
to
page?
get a declaration page from your agent. On all of your auto and home policies, you have a declaration page. You get that when you buy the policy.
Yeah, you do. But just a word of caution, it's easy to cancel that insurance policy after they bring it to you, so you need to be sure that the insurance company is required to notify you of the cancellation.
I left this out. The second item is that the port be listed as a certificate holder, and that will require the insurance company to notify of any changes to the policy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying, the vessels you have in mortgage now, they have a 1 year,
They have a year,
depending upon their contract.
depending on when their contract expires. So if somebody re-up this month for a year's mortgage, they would have until, June, July of next year.
Isn't that awful generous?
I'm trying to create as least friction as I
I
can.
know. I'm, believe me, I'm a strong supporter of
Yeah,
this.
good.
I mean,
Yeah,
staunch.
I don't want to be, it's not my intention to be heavy-handed. I just assume transition it in, looking at the fleet, and that's why there's a longer transition period.
No, that's a good idea.
I have a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 7-20-15A as presented.
15A or 16A?
16A, I'm sorry.
I'd second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show that it was approved by the 4 commissioners that are here tonight.
Okay, and then secondly, along with that, I would just ask for a motion to give me authority to create a transition plan, like I just described, to bring this about. So just, motion to the
I'll make that
port
motion
manager to create a transition plan would be fine.
for the transition.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Been-
Do we even need a motion for him to do that?
No, I honestly wasn't sure, but I just thought we'd just go through it and have it.
Well, you got a motion, I guess.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show that it has passed. Okay, next is the Resolution 7-20-16B, declaring surplus property. Go ahead,
Okay.
Stephen.
So at the last commission meeting, the commission voted to look into selling the 1499 building in response to a inquiry. So the next step in the process is to declare the property surplus, and this is what this does. It puts it on the surplus list. After that, I'll have a plan to sell the building by our next commission. We'll have an executive session at the next meeting, and I'll work through with the lawyers how to get the property sold. So first on the surplus, and then we'll get it actually on market.
I move that we pass the resolution 7-20-16B, which is a resolution declaring surplus real property and authorizing staff to dispose of surplus real property.
Do I hear a second?
Sure. I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Buckwald.
Good.
You have any more questions?
Yeah, I'd like to pose a few questions before we have the vote.
Okay, go ahead. Floor is yours.
We have an issue of, there's a lease on that property with no way out, it appears. Are we opening ourselves up to more liability?
I will approach the leaseholder, and that will be part of our discussion in executive session. The building will be sold subject to the lease. Whoever buys the building buys the lease.
So, but by by declaring it surplus property doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna do anything.
Yeah.
We're just declaring it as surplus
That's correct.
property, so in the event he can make it work with the lessor or the lessee as well.
Well, I just
then-
wanted to make sure we weren't,
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying.
I mean, maybe our attorney should have been consulted.
I am consulting with the attorney.
Okay.
I've not been through a land sale, a property sale like this, and I'm consulting with our attorneys.
Okay.
And, well, I'll have more information at the next meeting.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you approve that, Commissioner Buckwald?
Oh, I'm sorry, I
I didn't hear that.
was reading when I should have been listening.
Okay,
And the third and final resolution that I'm bringing is a resolution to authorize fuel dock repairs. Since this was, so the background on this is that the fuel dock was constructed in about 2000 and has had standard maintenance on it. The fuel tank itself, Jason was changing out some corroded sensors, and it started looking at the wiring and the conduit, and found that a lot of the conduit was just 16-year-old conduit and was starting to leak water at high tide. And the water at high tide would come back into the sensor and trip the alarm. So as they started pulling it apart, they just found more and more corrosion. And so the proposal is to replace mostly the conduit and some of the wire out on the fuel dock. The fuel dock I think it was in 2000, was wired so that the electrical meters could be read in the office. So there's a lot of wiring that needs to either be labeled or removed, and that's what the proposal is. The amount here of $15,000. When we did the actual resolution for your packets, I didn't have the dollar amount. The actual bid from Ladd Electric came in at $8,372.
Where'd you get the bid?
Ladd Electric, out of Reedsport.
Did we get more than one?
On this one, we only got the one. Ladd's been working on this on some of these issues for years, so we only sought the one.
Does this need to be a resolution?
It does, because I'm only authorized to approve spending to $5,000, and this is going to exceed. Yeah, and this exceeds that.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you exceed a certain dollar amount, you need more than one bid.
I think it's $10,000.
I don't think so.
All right.
Personally, I don't think so.
Well,
But I think it's something you need to look into. And personally, I'd like to see more than one bid.
okay. Well, if you approve, what my recommendation would be, approve the repairs, and we'll go out and get the other bids. And
I think you're bound spending government money over a certain dollar amount. And I know it's not, I'm pretty certain it's not 10,000.
Right.
I may be wrong on that amount, but I think it'd be prudent. And I think in spending that kind of money, with our money, we should have another bid.
Okay, that's fine. We'll get another bid.
Okay.
We would still like the we'll get another bid, but we'd still like the resolution signed so that we don't have to come back and then start the
okay.
process
So we
later
can start
in the year.
repair right away.
I think you ought to look at and there's bid laws. I think you're required to seek
Right.
3.
All right, we'll check into it.
I mean, that's my personal opinion.
And that's, excuse me, that's coming out of the what is coming out of the materials and services facility budget?
That's
There's a
correct.
line item that says materials and services facility.
That's correct.
Okay, just off that for just a second. Next month, could we all have a copy of the full adopted budget for for this new fiscal year? And always keep it in front of the, so I don't, I've got 2 pages of it, but it's in the middle back here.
Any other discussion?
Uh,
We have a motion to approve
So moved.
with,
I just had one more question for the manager.
go ahead.
Why not to exceed 15,000? Are you,
I knew it wasn't gonna come in at more than 15.
Okay.
And I just knew that, but I wanted to give myself a little room in case Lad came in higher.
okay,
But
but he
I
come
didn't
in,
have, I didn't have.
you have
that.
one quote and 8,300 already,
Right.
and you would submit for more.
Yeah,
regardless.
we'll go out for more bids.
Yeah. Thank you. That's all I had.
I move to approve the resolution.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, commissioner reports.
We're done already?
Yeah, I'll let you go for the first, Nancy, you always have the most.
Well, June 27th was an Arnie Roeblen Town Hall. This one was regarding mayors and people who are living in the rural areas with septic systems. Karen Tarnow from DEQ in Portland was at this meeting, and they were talking about how to address the systems that are failing, what to do to get people to come on board with keeping their systems cleaned up and, this kind of thing. Today was a Lane Act meeting in Eugene at the U of O with legislators. It was just a luncheon get-together, and the rest of the people went on a tour of all kinds of areas around the Eugene area and outlining about real bad bottlenecks and problems with things that need to be done there. And I had the opportunity to tell them about the problems that we have with failing infrastructure and small ports, and so that when they're working with their transportation money, they need to think about outlying areas, even though the people with the cities with the most people are where a lot of that money's being spent. And that's what I did the whole month.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I do not.
How about you, Michael?
No, I don't.
Okay. I went to the chamber meeting last week for the first time. It's over at the Pier Point. I get a nice view of the port from there, and had a nice lunch and met a few people. There was no urban renewal meeting this month, so that was all that I accomplished outside of my normal duties here. So with that, Stephen, do you have a report?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple things to go over. We have completed paving and replacing lights in the Noble lot. The Noble light now has nice LEDs. We should be getting a rebate on that, and that should be cutting our electric bill somewhat significantly, given the amount of electricity that they use. We also finished restriping the harbor lights. Both lots look significantly improved. The port has been working pretty closely with the Coast Guard on a couple of things. We had a boating safety class here in this room last month that brought in 20 people. Next Saturday, I think it's next Saturday, it's either this Saturday or the following Saturday, we're scheduled for another Coast Guard class here. The city of Florence is involved in a process to have Florence designated a Coast Guard city, and there will be a military-style ball October 7th, so get out your uniforms. It's all service, and that should be a lot of fun. And that's actually the inaugural event of the process to get the city designated as a Coast Guard city. The floating, if you haven't noticed, we're missing a floating restroom. It's now out in the water. The official name is Relief Station, which was chosen by Ron.
We had a lot of 120 different names, but I turned down the ones that said like hook, line and stinkers, and a lot of other really interesting names, but it didn't describe exactly what it was. So I went with a nice clean version, and we did have a winner, and
It was a $100 gift certificate.
gift certificate to
Yeah,
ICM. So.
yeah.
Was it Nancy?
No.
Was the winner?
No, it wasn't one of my
No
grandkids
way.
either.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't Mike Rose. Let's see, what would they have there? They had the Sir Michael Rose, something like that.
All the entries
SS Sir Michael Rose is what was entered for one of them, and that one got scratched too.
All the entries are on the website if you're so inclined. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
We're not letting you off the hook.
Yeah.
On July 15th, I attended the Oregon State Marine Board task force on abandoned and derelict vessels. And that's just an ongoing process to catalog. The fleet in Oregon is aging, and a lot of these vessels are just going to be abandoned in sight. And so the Marine Board is trying to figure out how to deal with all of these vessels and how to prevent it in the future. One of the advantages of, if the state requires insurance, one of the advantages of that will be vessels will be inspected, surveyed somewhat regularly, and hopefully that will cut down on the number of abandoned vessels. I also met, when I was in Astoria, I went across the river to Ilwaco. One of our moored tenants told me about the Ilwaco Tuna Club, which is a group of sports fishermen who pool resources to grow their fishing fleet. Their port was not supportive of them at all, and that's why they created this club to help one another fish. And so that was, so I spoke to one of the founding members of the club out there and was looking for ideas for our fishery here. So was still in touch with him, still talking to him about how maybe to bring in more boats down here as well. An update on Sea Row repairs. I spoke this afternoon with Jack Aiken, the port's engineer on this project. FEMA's taken the lead in this. We have a joint application now at the Corps and DSL, Oregon Department of State Lands, and we're waiting for FEMA to shepherd the proposal through those two processes. And Jack is on him. He sends me a report every other week or so, just so we can stay on top of it. And that's about it. We picked a new auditor this past month. We hired Connie Huntsman out of Coos Bay. So Bill Trotter gave us years of great service, but we felt it was good practice to bring in somebody new, and the price was right. So we're happy to have Connie on board. Thanks.
Can I ask
Yeah,
a
yeah.
question? The NOPA parking lot looks great, but you still have the trailer parking, like, is that gonna be corrected? Could you correct that? Someone that's parked there in the past, like me, might think it might be all right to park a trailer in there the way it's painted. Am I making sense?
You are. I don't. Let me talk to you after the meeting. All right.
Can I ask a question which is out of deal? You always want us, the public, to talk first. Why? Because when you go through your meeting, maybe there are things that come up that maybe it'd be better for us to speak at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, why is it at the beginning? Am I supposed to be talking about what happened last meeting?
That's the
That things
the
have already been
format is pretty much standard with all government meetings, and it's been set up that way. You can certainly talk to any of us commissioners after the meeting.
Well, I mean, it's like he's gonna talk to you after the meeting. Is it related to the meeting? Is it related to the port? And if it is, why isn't it talked about during the meeting?
Yeah.
I mean, I always leave here thinking that there's something being done that me as the public, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I can go and read the minutes and I can go and do all kinds of stuff
yeah.
that the end result is you come in and say, well, because nobody knows what is going on.
Yeah.
As us, as the public.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing something with C, that's the same bid process as anything else, I think. Any government money at a certain dollar figure, and I don't know what that is, and I worked government for 30 years. Has
I'm
to
not
go to
sure of
bid.
that, I threw it out. but I
Right,
don't-
right, has to go to
That's
bid on
my
certain
opinion.
things, and if it's 5,000, then everything needs to go out at 5,000, right?
That was strictly my opinion.
Yeah, I understand, and I don't know what it is either. And my assumption is you don't know at this point, or you'd have an
I'll have
answer.
to look it up.
Okay?
In terms of public purchasing, there's numerous different categories. So things like, fungible items, those will get bidded out. But like when we have a relationship with somebody, when we know somebody's work, where we've been using somebody for a while, we have latitude to go back to that person.
As long as the dollar figure's down again. You
Um,
can't go above the bid process.
Yeah, and I think, but I'm pretty sure that we're within that.
And,
I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that
and,
we're in
and that's
that.
possible.
Yeah.
But it just seems that as government, you can't just pick who you want. You can't pick a new auditor unless you went out to bid and everybody was able to bid on it.
I'm sorry, Jeff, but I want to get the meeting back on.
Okay, excuse
I'm
me.
happy to talk to you.
You were ready to adjourn.
I
anyway,
need
I
another
thought.
minute before we adjourn.
Because I would like to commend the port and the staff for the work they did over the 4th of July. I thought the fireworks were fantastic, and I hadn't heard of any bad incidents, and I think it was done well. And also the Windfest. I have enjoyed the concerts. I plan to be there this next Saturday at 6 o'clock. And those who aren't coming out to it are missing something that's fun. Stephen mentioned the Friday, Saturday science things, and I've not been able to catch up with any of them, but I know that there are some well-planned things if people don't cancel. Because I think that's what's happened with several. But I really appreciate the staff doing all everything they can to keep things working well here.
Very good. I have one other item too, is that Stephen's 6-month review is due, I believe, around the 1st of August. And so I have some forms for review forms I want to give to each commissioner to fill out and get back to me by the 1st of August. And we will, I will compile them, and then we will talk to Stephen either in an executive session or in person and give him the results of the review, and he can talk to us and see how he feels about our performance. But that will come out on a public notice, I'm sure.
I'd like to comment on the audience. Are we so stuck in our ways that we can't allow, I'm not sure the term to use, public input at the end of the meeting?
No, not at all.
I mean,
Nothing
we
is,
aren't,
nothing,
this ain't the
Ron
Port
is
of
right, what
Columbia.
Ron says is absolutely right. Generally speaking, it's at the
Generally
beginning.
speaking,
There's no
it
reason
is.
you can't have one at the beginning, and there's no reason you can't have one at the end.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to leave early, you limit them to the same amount. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, from my perspective, there's
Yeah.
if there's something that comes up in the meeting that they want to comment on, I don't see any reason for them to have the opportunity to do so.
I think
But at
that-
the same time, I don't leave here every meeting thinking that there's something unsaid either. So I don't feel that way when I leave.
Well, I do. Last month, you had an executive meeting after the meeting.
Yeah.
But we
Well,
opened it
they're
up for
always-
us.
But that's executive
they're
session,
closed.
that's according to
They're
statute.
closed.
They're closed, right, so
Yeah.
whatever happened in that, I don't know what happened. I don't know what was talked about, is it that private?
According to the statute, it is, yes.
Okay, so you
According to the
don't,
statute.
so
this-
the only people that know is the commission.
Right.
Until
Whoever
an
else-
action is done, and then there's public
Yeah.
after certain things. I mean, if it's property sales, all the prep work on that is not out to the public until it's a done deal. And then it's in the paper, or,
Well, then you come into open session, and
Right.
then you make it.
Then you-
You
then-
vote on it in open session.
Right.
Any decisions that we make has to be in open session.
And if there's a personnel issue, we have an executive session on that also. So there are things that, and there's, like I said before, there's no reason why anybody sitting down in that audience can't come up after the meeting and quiz us and
Well, yeah, but sometimes you want the question to go out so everybody.
to
hears.
everybody.
Yeah.
So that's on record.
You know, I agree with what he says, but he has input during the meeting. We don't.
I think we need to review how we do our public comments and offer 2 periods.
Okay?
I wouldn't mind.
I mean, I'm thankful that we do have input from public here, period.
Yeah, it's nice to have
Yeah.
people coming here.
Yes.
I've sat in that audience before biting my tongue knowing I can't say anything.
Yeah.
Well, there's a time and place for everything, as long as it's controlled the way it should be, so we run a meeting in an orderly fashion. I certainly have no issues at all having a beginning and ending, makes no difference. I mean, that's, if there are people who have a comment that they'd like to make, then sure, I think we should do that.
It'd be the
But,
same 3
our-
minutes.
Our chairperson he controls the meeting, and that's why we do that. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that at all, I support that.
Okay, I'd like to throw in something to the port manager on this insurance you're talking about. Now, this is something that came up in the meeting, and I'm sitting back here worried about it. We have insurance on our boat, and then you're talking about all these other specifics that, is that additional we have to get for insurance on our boats?
It depends on what kind of insurance you have. If you have marine insurance, you probably already have these things on your policy.
Well, it's like with, who does he have it with? Allstate, I think.
If it's a homeowner policy,
No, it's a
yeah,
boat policy.
then your boat policy has these. I would be, without looking at I can't say it's on
No,
there,
but-
I would be reasonably certain that
That
you know,
would
any
be
reputable,
acceptable.
any reputable marine.
That's
policy
good
would
to
have
know,
these.
'cause
If it's this will come up. People will come in and say, "Well, my boat's insured on my homeowner's policy,
No.
which only insures the hull. It doesn't insure liability or salvage or pollution. It's only if you lose the boat, you get the value of the hull. So boat, that's not enough protection for us.
I might be up having you look at it.
You can bring it
I
to the
don't know
office.
things like this that come up during your meeting, we'd like to get answers on, and we appreciate getting the answers.
I would like to adjourn the meeting. The commissioners have no,
Fine.
okay, at 7:43, meeting is adjourned.